Hello and welcome to a special bonus episode of Sports and Songs podcast. I'm your host, Dan. Today we're joined with special guest manager of the St. Patrick Shamrocks 35 plus baseball team, co manager John Jenness. Welcome to the show, John.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Well, and the Sports and Songs covers a lot of Federal League 35 plus baseball. We've never had a chance to have you on to really talk in particular of this team here, right here, St. Patrick Shamrocks. Shamrocks is a good story here in the Federal League. Played many years in the Minnesota State Senior Men's Baseball Association. Came on over and then had some great years in the Federal League, followed by some turbulent years, and then almost fell off the face of the earth. Didn't have enough guys. The team almost folded. 2025, you came back after your couple-year probationary period of playing independent baseball schedule and then getting into the Class B tournament. And so I'd like to get your thoughts on a whole host of those things with St. Patrick. So what are your thoughts? First of all, what's this, the second, third year that you've been co-manager of the 35 plus team there over there, John?
Yeah, it's been two to 3 years. Kevin Hart has been doing it for a number of years, running the team and everything. And with him starting the over 50 Emeralds, he kind of wanted to take a step back, and it was kind of like a three-headed monster for us at first. Mike Wald, myself, and Eric Solheid were, Mike was more of like the head manager or whatever, and then Eric and I were like assistants and just kind of helping him out with some things. And then after a year or so, Mike just couldn't do it anymore. So then Eric and I kind of took the reins or whatever, and we're dealing with more of the team aspect stuff, the day-to-day, the on-field type stuff. And then, Kevin Hart really does like our general manager, helping out with, league meeting stuff, the website, different things in the background, just to keep things rolling. So that's kind of how it all landed on mine and Eric's lap.
So it was, I believe it was probably 2012 was the last year you guys were you weren't even on the team yet, but the Minnesota State Senior Men's Baseball was in that old league, won that title. I'm not sure what class it was, but were victorious there.
Mm-hmm.
Just made the decision as a team then to cut over, and this was back when Kevin Hart was running it, cut over to the Federal League. There was a bunch of teams coming over at that time. In those years, I think there was 3 to 5 teams every year switching over and coming over to the Federal League, and the expansion really took off. But right away in 2013, St. Patrick Shamrocks won the Class A state title in the Federal League. Didn't win it in 2014, and then you joined in 2015 along with some others and rattled off state tournament championships in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. 4 back-to-back state Class A titles. Now, in Federal League, there's a 3A of the top, there's a 2A, then there's an A, and then there's the B. So hanging around in that level and rattling off those championships, what was it like there when you joined that team in 2015 and won the state title on that group?
Well, never won like a state championship or anything, playing amateur ball or, in high school or anything. So getting into that tournament, we, especially that first one, first taste of that state tournament. Just like any other team, when we were hitting on all cylinders. We won a few games, prior to that going into the tournament. So we felt pretty good about where we were at. We had Billy Dunker, Kevin Hart, and Jim DeGrosse as our lead dogs on the mound. So it was definitely something that when those individuals were taking the bump, you knew that you had a chance to win, and playing good defense. But our bats really came alive in that state tournament. I was hitting pretty well. Dan Papa was hitting really well, but everybody was. We had Wade Shutnick that was hitting well. We had Almick hitting well. Jimmy DeGrosse was pitching stuff in. Dunker was pitching or was getting hits and stuff too. So, it going through that tournament, I mean, it was great. It was just when we won it that first year, just nothing felt better. And you always look at, maybe if we can make the jump to the next class, it would be great. But however year goes, it just, there's the ups and downs of the way that the years go. And we ended up finding ourselves in that Class A and really hitting our strides at that time. So we definitely enjoyed those times. But once we got to the 2018, after that year, that was kind of when some guys were obviously looking at going to that over 50 team that Kevin had started, as well as others just ended up meandering onto other things.
Yeah, very interesting. The group, the St. Patrick, the Shamrocks, mainly made up of former St. Patrick Irish Town Ball Class C players, right? Very successful teams there coming out of Class C in the DRS and then making the move and cutting over into the Federal League and really did well, both hitting, pitching, defense. It really ran the table. I know that in 2015, I just have it pulled up here. I was with my last year with the Chaska Diamonds, and that's who we faced the first year. It was St. Patrick, first round, 8-0 win. St. Patrick crushed us. It was 8-0, and then you guys just went on a tear, won that Class A, and like you said, stayed there the next year, and the next year. And so all during these years, the Federal League was going through some sort of adjusting their divisions, their conferences, where people were playing. Right now, you're in the South, as it shows there on the graphic. But they were taking on a lot of teams. Some teams were not making it. Some were folding. A lot of growth those years. So when the other talent came in at some of those AAA teams, when Lakeville was hot, and more recently with Minoka and the Mammoth, some of these teams coming in, this began to be a very competitive group in the Federal League, and winning the Class A is no slouch. I mean, you still got to win those games when it counts. And very good. A lot of competition. A lot of and those are always, I think, the first 2 weekends of the month of August were those tournaments dates, and good stuff. But still, to win 4 straight back to back. I know at Bonin Field there, you've got the poster, the signage there on the wall with the state tournament winners, the victories there on the foul ball line. I don't think, John, many 35 plus teams have their banners of when they won on their amateur fields. Do they? I don't think there's a lot. There might be a few out there, but I do like that St. Patrick does have that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly there are some fields that might have that information obviously posted, so that I mean, when you win a state championship, regardless of what the class is, I mean, you have a little pride on that, and it's definitely something that at the end of the year, you feel like you definitely accomplished something, right? And to have it posted up on our field, and just to kind of look at that and say, yeah, I was part of that. I mean, it's pretty special. And then, not to mention, having it posted on the field that we play on just makes it even that more remarkable. So it's definitely a sight to see whenever I see it.
Yeah, and St. Patrick Irish, the town team, has moved up to Class A, and so they still draw a lot of fans. A lot of people get to see that great field. There's been a lot of updates and things there done at St. Patrick. Hats off to the new dugouts, the new LED lights, the new what is done recently. The batting cage. There's a new batting cage that just got installed here this week or last week, I believe.
Yeah. So we were getting close to, or we were closing up our capital campaign when we kicked it off back in 2021, right after or basically right after we had that second place finish in the Class C state tournament, and we just as a board member and talking it over, we figured there was no better time than now to try to capture that with the success that we've had, as well as the second place finish in the state tournament. And the capital campaign was for improvements on the field. Lights, obviously, dugouts, some better fan views and seating areas, as well as actually we were looking at dual hitting tunnels. But as anybody's been to our field, it trying to put it down that left field line is going to be quite the chore. It's going to cost us a lot of money just because of that hill that's right there. So once we basically stopped we wrapped up our capital campaign this year. We still had some funds available and looked at the opportunity to get that hitting tunnel put in down the right field line. And again, no better time to do it, to try to give us another opportunity, not only for batting practice, but also a dry area to have the pitcher warm up. Because there definitely are times where it can get pretty soggy down either line for the bullpen.
John, are they going to still use that turtle shell for the hitting cage in the right corner, or is that just going to be put to bed and not use it anymore? Or is that still going to be used in addition then to this? It's really just a single tunnel, right? Is it one bullpen there?
Yep.
On the tunnel? Okay.
Yeah, it's just a single tunnel. I mean, the turtle shell there, it's definitely it's seen better days. We'll put it that way, and seen better years. But we've done what we could to repair it, and to a certain degree, is it irreparable? No, but it's going to take a lot more work, and always takes work every year to try to continue to keep the upkeep up with that turtle shell. But we haven't had a talk about getting rid of it at this point. Okay. I would think that would give us an option, because sometimes it is kind of nice to hit out of that turtle shell and see where it's going. But the nice thing about this, having that hitting tunnel there, like it would be when you have any type of ball game at any other field, if they have a batting cage. I mean, it's easy for people to go, just take a few cuts right before the game.
Yeah,
sure.
Even
if it's like last minute, but like, the many youth teams that we have on that field, there's times during the summer we have double headers. They start one team starts at like 6:00 and they go till about 7:30, and then there's about 30 minutes or whatever of warm up time then for the teams to change out and get ready for the next game. And then they start a game at 8:00, and lo and behold, these little kids get to play under the lights. They get to feel like Major League Baseball players, right? Or even if they come to some of our games, some of the amateur guys that are playing out there, the big guys. So it gives us an opportunity for individuals to be able to warm up and not have to go somewhere else, or just basically sit around and do nothing.
Yeah, it looks nice. I've seen the photos already. It's got a nice artificial turf in there. The netting, it's very nicely done. And so that is the field. So we've gone over, John, the winning years. Then after that, 2018, tell us more, the listeners, as far as some of the not successful years and some of the things that led to the 2-year probationary period, as far as almost folding and not being in the Federal League. Were you guys given a stern warning from the commissioner? How did all that go as far as those years where you were on the outs?
Well, so as we get into 2019 and obviously with the COVID year of 2020, it was just abbreviated season type thing, and we were really what was happening is, like I said, the over 50s got started, so there were some guys that ended up jumping over to that team, and they just strictly wanted to play over 50. When you lose players, you're looking at adding individuals, and we couldn't add enough. And that's where it was kind of getting to a point where, if guys were taking vacation, or they had their kids' activities and stuff, trying to field 9-10 guys for a game was very, very difficult at times. Any manager, anybody that is managing a team, the thing that you dread is that you have to sit there and call people to come play, whether it's like begging them or even trying to, trying to add more players. We just didn't have that pipeline at that time. Some individuals that were on the Class C team and moving on, they were moving on because of, many reasons. And some of it was just, they just didn't want to play ball anymore. They wanted to go do something else, it would be great to have a few of those guys on the team, because one, I know that they can still play, and I know that they would definitely be a good addition to the team, but they weren't interested. So as we were losing numbers, we get into, after the COVID year, we get into 2021, and we're just not adding enough guys. And it was getting to a point where some guys were getting frustrated that, they just didn't know if they even wanted to play anymore. So when we got into 2022, it seemed like it was going to be potentially the end, just because, just the dwindling numbers, and we couldn't, feeling the competitive team just wasn't happening. So in 2023, it came to a decision that we didn't take, lightly. And, at one point it was the discussion that we had was, one, do we have enough players? But the other worry that we had was, do we have enough pitching, right? If you don't have enough arms, I mean, you could field guys that can play 8 positions, but if you don't have anybody that can pitch the ball, you're not going to get anywhere. And at that time, I think we only had maybe 1 or 2 guys, and Kevin Hart was filling in, and we had a few other guys that would throw, but just not on a consistent basis. So we made what we discussed was folding altogether.
Yeah.
And at the time, I kind of threw out the idea. I said, well, why don't we just take the guys that we have, see if we can try to add a few guys, especially in the case of us, being, not in the Federal League. It doesn't matter whether, as long as they're over 35, it doesn't really matter, if they're quote unquote on a roster or not, because it's an exhibition game.
Yes.
But we basically decided to try to set up like a 10-game, 12-game schedule, on the 2023 season. And, for the most part, I think we played 8 games that year. We did kind of get some inroads on a few players that were interested. So we were actually feeling pretty confident about the 2024 season and trying to get back into the Federal League. Some of the individuals that we felt confident in, some of them, came onto the team, and some of them just didn't work out or didn't show the interest that they did when we first talked to them after the 2023 season. And, it looked kind of bleak or whatever. So as we were playing that 2024 season, that was the year where we had all that rain, right? There was,
Okay.
I think the month of June and half of February was literally all rain. So we got I think our first game in, and then I think we got to a point where there was a game where we got a half an inning. I think it was against the Minnetonka Saints. We got literally the top half of the first inning, and a storm rolled in and basically dumped a ton of rain on us. And the field is basically a monsoon and flooded, and we couldn't play. But we got a lot of beer drinking in, so that counts for something, right? So anyways, and then in July we had games that were scheduled. I think we had 4 or 5 in July, and we had Federal League teams that were calling us saying, "Hey, listen, we'd love to play you, and it stinks that we have to do this, but we have to use those dates for makeup games. We have to get our games in before the state tournament." So
Yes.
we literally only played, 1 full game and half an inning that year.
Okay.
And at the time during that season, we had gotten word that the Webster Wildcats were struggling for players.
Okay.
And what transpired is Eric had found out that the Webster Wildcats were folding. And I said, well, no, let's try to get a hold of them, tell them not to fold. We'll bring our guys. And I believe this was even before the June 30th deadline. We'll bring our guys, whoever we have that want to play, and we'll finish out their season with them.
Okay.
And after calling around, and we actually had Kevin call into the Federal League to his contacts and see if they had officially folded. We had found out that yes, they officially folded, and they did it early enough so that if anyone still wanted to play ball, then they would get to play ball. And it sounded like a bunch of them went over to play for Vesely. Some other guys went and played somewhere else. So coming then into the after the 2024 season, we had Tommy Larson we had talked with him a little bit, and he said, if you guys can get going, I can probably get some guys to come play, and we can see how this rolls. And but the caveat was trying to get into the league. So Eric and I we kind of huddled together with Kevin and said, all right, Kevin, see if we can get back into the league, and then we'll keep talking to these guys and keep looking to see if there's anyone else that wants to play. And then in the meantime, I just basically sent out just kind of an email that said, hey, who's in and who's out for this next year. I think we're going to try to get back into the Federal League. It's going to be fun. We've missed it a couple of years, and I think it's time to go. Kevin went to the league and we got voted back in. So I thank the Federal League for doing that. I feel it's the rightful place for the St. Patrick Shamrocks and over 35 baseball itself. And that's where it kind of kicked off. And then from there, a few of these Webster Wildcat guys came over, and it was fun getting on the field against Vesely that first weekend in May.
Okay.
It was a great feeling to get back on the field again. And we ended up losing a tight game to them. I think it was 5-3 or 6-3 or something like that. But just to get back on the field, though, I was very, very happy at that time. So a lot of ups and downs this year, but I mean, it was great. It was great to get back on the field.
So just for the newer listeners out there that aren't familiar with it, the difference between like Webster actually folding and now let's say down the road they want to get back in, it's a tough climb to get back in.
Correct.
You guys basically went to the Federal League and basically said, hey, can we have a timeout? Can we pause?
Yep.
Play an independent schedule. We won't be into the playoffs. We won't make the postseason. You don't have to enter our stats, win-loss record in the standings officially, but we still want to be in, but on what I've been calling it, a probationary period. Then you're much easier to get back in. They do a vote, you're back in, no harm, no foul. So the decision to do that, to take a pause for a year or two, actually very much helped because now 2025, you're back in, you qualify for the postseason. You're on the website, the standings, everything counts. You're an official team. And like you said, something as easy as that, how good it feels. Something as easy as that. That's all that it took after these 2 tough years just to play the game. Now you're not wanting to, win and do all these dramatic things. You just want to be in the league and make enough guys to be on this team, get the roster filled, have some fun, and not be worrying about, are you going to have enough? Are you going to forfeit? Are you going to play a game with 8 guys, 2 in the outfield kind of a deal? And I'm sure you've gone through those games where those kind of decisions had to be made, but now you're in. So how did it feel? How did it go this year in the 2025 regular season, John?
Yeah. So in the 2025 regular season, we certainly, we did play in some competitive games. We certainly had our games where we didn't have it. What was it? Our second game, we played Lakeville, and, they just, they torched us. I think it was like 15-3 or something like that. And those games can kind of get frustrating, but to a certain degree, we didn't have all of our guys there. We a couple of guys playing out of position and stuff like that, but I mean, it's going to happen. I'm not going to deny that. Every team faces that. There's not very many teams where they have the full squad there every game. And that's the one thing that to a certain degree, when I talk to guys that are interested in playing, is I like, hey, I memean, you got a vacation, your kids in baseball or hockey or basketball, whatever it is during the summer, you can still do that stuff. We just need you to make your 6 games and hopefully be there at the end of the year at the state tournament. Cause that's what it's all about. That's why we strap the uniform on to try to win that trophy. Right. But yeah, we struggled a little bit defensively and hitting the ball. It was probably like 3/4 of the way through the season. We were starting to make connection, scoring some runs or whatever. I think it was our second game against Vesely. I think we were, I think at the time either 0-9 or 0-10, and we ended up beating Vesely 16-6. Talk about a game that, they were actually beating us, and we we ended up tying it up, and then we scored 10 runs. I think it was in the bottom of the sixth. So to end the game. So that was a fun game to be in. And the other few games that really bring to mind that we were really competitive in. One of them was against the River Falls Groupers.
Yep.
Love playing those guys. I love their field. Their field is phenomenal. But they came and played us on a Thursday night, and we ended up coming back in the bottom of the seventh. I think they were up. I think they were up 10-6 or 10-7, and we scored 4 runs in the bottom of the seventh to beat them. Obviously, they're a very good team. They were in the AA this year and played very well. But that was a fun win and a fun night to be at Bonin Field or whatever, to play under the lights. And then we had a couple close games after that, and then we ended up playing just before the state tournament. The Monday before, we played the St. Paul Senators, and that was our third win. We ended up beating them 12-2, and that's, I mean, at the time from the River Falls Grouper game basically on, the team was just starting to really hit the stride, hitting the ball. And we were starting to play a little bit of defense, and the pitching was there. So during the regular season, we certainly had our struggles and frustrations in the beginning, but I just kept telling the guys, dude, we got to keep grinding, especially with some of the guys that, we added a couple guys, Tyler and Jesse Giersdorf. Jesse, actually, he was the first one on the team. He came onto our team through Tommy Larson, and he started off hot, hit the ball really well for the first few games, and then he started to struggle. And that's when individuals, kind of get that feeling like, should I keep playing or not, whatever. And obviously, if you get hurt, that kind of helps their decision too. But he didn't get hurt. It was just kind of one of those things where it was just a frustrating middle of the season. And then towards the end of the season, he started hitting the ball again. And even his brother Tyler too, he hasn't played in a number of years, played softball. But I think he started off like, 0 for 9 or 1 for 11 or something like that. And then all of a sudden we got to that River Falls game, and he just started just crushing the ball. And I was just like, I guess we got something here. And both of them having brothers on the team, and they didn't know about over 35 baseball or anything like that. They didn't know there was such a thing in the state of Minnesota, and heck, even amateur baseball. I don't even think that they were really aware of, how rich the game of baseball is in the state of Minnesota. During the winter, the state is the state of hockey, but during the summer, the state is the state of baseball for sure. Greatest show on turf. So yeah, I mean, just getting individuals like that onto the team and getting them to gel in. Once we got that going, I felt really confident going into the state tournament that we were going to have a good showing.
So you finished, what was it, 3-15, 3-16, or something to that effect. 3 wins, qualifies. Now you get into the state tournament. You have your guys all get their minimum requirement, 6 games they need to play in to qualify to play in the state. You have a roster. You get selected to go to the B tournament, which is the lowest of all, but which is fine. It's still a win. It's still yay, rah, rah. After these last couple of years, you're in it now, and now you can compete in a double elimination state tournament for Class B. And so, tell me how that went then. Who did you face off with in the first couple rounds?
Yeah, so the first round we actually, and it was funny too, after we played St. Paul then on that Monday and ended up beating them, I'm like, I just had a feeling that we were going to see them in this Class B tournament. Well, lo and behold, the first game on that Saturday, we ended up facing St. Paul. But the funny thing about at least the Class B I wanted to mention was, the Class B tournament had 8 teams that were originally scheduled for the tournament itself. Okay. And there were 2 teams that ended up having to bow out. One of them being the Northfield Knights, and then just before I think the tournament started, Red West Legends ended up bowing out. So it went from 8 teams down to 6. So they had to kind of reclassify the bracket a little bit. And what ended up happening was the number 1 and the number 2 seed, number 1 seed being St. Anthony Norseman. They didn't play their first game. They got a first round bye, and then the Vesely Vulcans got a first round bye. So their first game was going to be on Sunday. The other 2 games were being played on. Actually, the other 3 games were being played on Saturday then.
Okay.
So we let it off at 11 o'clock. We win. We didn't have to play till Sunday. The St. Paul Senators ended up jumping out to a 2-0 lead, I think, right away. And they were pretty jazzed up or whatever, but we slowly started kind of stringing some hits together and getting some runs across. And eventually we ended up, duplicating that score that we had on that Monday at a 12-2, win in that first game. So feeling really good. Bats were going really well. We were playing good defense. Pitching was on par. Kevin Hart went the distance in that game. So it was, we were pretty jazzed up at that point. So, and then, we knew that we were playing St. Anthony then, if we won. So we came in then on Sunday, feeling pretty good again. We went back and forth with that team. Very, very good, very solid team. They definitely could hit the ball a little bit. And they used a couple of pitchers in that game. They had their main guy. We had hit him around a little bit or whatnot, but then they ended up bringing in their shortstop, and he definitely shut us down a little bit to kind of keep us at 7 runs. But they definitely came to play as well. I think they had their number 3 or 4 hitter. I think it was their 4 hitter. I don't think we got him out. I think he ended up with like 4 hits and probably about 5 or 6 of their 8-run, 5 or 6 of their RBIs basically. Okay. So he was, I give credit to them that, they were hitting the ball and they were doing what they needed to do. We were up, I believe it was 7-6 or 7-5 going into the bottom of the 7th.
Okay.
We ended up getting it out, and then I think there was a walk and a base hit, and then we had an opportunity to try to get a double play, and we ended up fumbling that, and that scored a run, and then a couple batters later or whatever, then they ended up hitting the winning run in. So it was a little heartbreaking at that time. We definitely were riding high and with where we were at, how we played. Tom Carpentier threw a great game. Definitely kept them on their toes. But we came out on the losing end. So our third game then, we were facing the Chaska Diamonds. That was the team that we were going to face. That was on a Wednesday night, is what we had. It was a Wednesday night game, and up in Missile Park, and they just, bottom line, they hit the ball. We had a few miscues in the field, but they hit the ball. We didn't. We had chances. We couldn't bring the runs in. So, and that's how baseball goes, right? You either have it or you don't. And you need to make the clutch play or get that clutch hit when it's in front of you. And we just couldn't get it done. But overall, I feel that the season was still a success because we got to play in the Federal League. We're back, and I'm hoping that we can continue to build on this.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I did like this year. The Federal League, their new website, the layout of the new website. Mm-hmm. The social media has been taking big strides. It's very fun to follow the tweets and Facebook pages of, most teams have their own Facebook page for the 35 team or their own website or their own statistics. And it's like an amateur town ball feel to this league. And it's very fun. This year they added even a podcast. There's a couple of podcasts out there. One is a recurring one called Fed Up.
Yes.
And that's got some very good, I've listened to a few of those, very good. It's your old friend, buddy, Chris Miner runs that. Very good podcast. What have you got to say about that? Is that something you've ever run into before, playing over 35 senior men's baseball? A website like this, a great professional podcast. They say that this is the best league in the nation for the state. The state of Minnesota, the Federal League is the best senior men's league in the nation. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with that comment?
Well, yeah. Well, first, I want to point out that, I mean, really, since like COVID, obviously, prior to that, there was Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that, and a lot of times, that's where people could follow their favorite team and know the schedule and all that. Besides going to like the local supermarket or gas station to see, their league list of games for the year. So what I think what really put it on the map was that I think it's the Minnesota Prep Sports Network that's out there. They broadcasted the state tournament, and from that time, I think it's really put things on the map. And people have done many different things, whether it's with podcasts, whether it's with Facebook Live, different things that they've been able to do to really promote the team and promote the sport of amateur baseball in the state of Minnesota. So, I mean, it's really a big shout out to that. I mean, Fox Sports 9, doing the Town Ball Tour, right? It came to St.
Yes.
Patrick. It's been to a lot of places, right? Without that publicity, I mean, sometimes I felt that amateur baseball alone is it's still in the dark, right? It's still something that, diehard baseball fans know and love, right? Or if they have a kid playing on the team or a cousin, uncle, whatever it is, right? But I would have to say that the social media has really, put baseball and put amateur baseball for Minnesota on the map, for sure. As far as the Fed Up podcast, I mean, Josh and Chris do a phenomenal job. And I mean, a phenomenal job when they're doing that. Putting on guests, obviously reviewing the league standings, as well as the games from the previous week. They did their they had a prediction podcast where they're sitting there talking about what is the season going to look like, what is it gonna, who's going to win each division, who's going to be in the AAA, who's going to be in the AA, and B and Class B state tournament brackets. I mean, you can't say enough about those two guys. Those two guys have done a phenomenal job of promoting not only 35 baseball, but the Federal League in itself, right? They've done a great job, and I can't say enough for what they've done and what it's doing for our league itself. As far as really the Federal League, I mean, I would say yes, it is definitely at an all-time high. There are a number of teams out there that are just stacked. Obviously, you talked about Minoka and Lakeville and Hastings. I mean, that was a new team, a couple of years ago. That's in the South. You've got Newmarket, Apple Valley, Rosemount, Tonka Bay, Minnetonka. I mean, I could keep going on and on there.
The Waconia team.
That Waconia team is good.
Islanders.
So yeah, I think that the Federal League is very strong, and certainly I don't care who you're playing and where you're playing at. You get out to a ball game, and you're going to definitely enjoy it and see some good baseball. And frankly, I mean, the amateur baseball is great in Minnesota, but I think we compete with that, and I think that we certainly put on just as good of a show as what the amateur baseball does.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. The Federal League is awesome. It's regular baseball. I mean, it's the regular fields, umpires, whatever. It's 7-inning games, but that's it. It's legit stuff. And back to that show that Fed Up. That's Josh Stoll. That's Apple Valley A's, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Chris Miner is South Metro Saints, and those guys do a heck of a job. But the tweets and social media is awesome. Having you guys back in the league, it's now what 34 teams, I believe, in the Federal League.
Yep.
It's good. And they play, whether it's an 18 to 20 game regular season and then the state tournament. I like how they break it out, those top 10 teams in the entire league, regardless of which division. They all get stacked up there and they play in their own bracket, and then AA, A, and then B. whichever one you're in with like teams. There's
Yep.
no, for the most part, blowouts. You're playing competitive games at all the levels, and so I do like to. We do see shows that they focus on that AAA, which is huge. But even Sports and Songs podcast here, we focus that A tournament is no slouch. That B
No.
tournament is tough.
Yep.
Double A, each one of these, if you focus on each one of them, those are tough. You come out of there with a trophy, you're doing pretty good. So Capital City Cannons won it. Congrats to them in the Class B this year. They beat St. Anthony Norseman. And once again, the lowest of the brackets, that's B. That's not an easy task to win
No.
that tournament. Like you
No.
said, you got a chance to play 3 games, won 1, lost 2, but competitive stuff. How do you like playing at Missile Park there in St. Bonnie?
I like playing there. I mean, obviously, you always choose your own field at Bonin Field, but I think, comparatively, I believe with the improvements that they've made to the field, I played, back in 2021, 2022, when we played up there for Class A and Class B. They redid the dugouts, which the dugouts are phenomenal. They put lights up on the field, which we had a chance to play under the lights, which anytime you get to play under the lights, it's obviously a dream come true, and they certainly put those LED lights like we had on Bonin on that field. And even the playing surface is improving every year and stuff too. So, I liked playing there. It's definitely the one thing I like about a lot of these ball fields in the state of Minnesota, especially when you get in these outskirts and even, the outside ring of the Twin Cities area. You see some really unique and classy ball fields. Obviously, you need a field to play on, and if you get the opportunity to travel to a lot of these fields, I mean, do it. Especially when you get if you take a trip and hitting some of these amateur fields, because I mean there are some phenomenal fields out there, and there's nothing like it.
Yeah, you're probably like myself. You get the schedule when it comes out, and then you look right away to say, where am I going to be playing new this year? Any place, any new field for the upcoming schedule? I like doing that. But St. Bonnie very much mirrors what Bonin's been doing there in St. Patrick. They got the new LED lights, brand
Mhm.
new installed, new dugouts, like actual tear down, new construction dugouts with closet storage space at the end,
Mhm.
nice and wide, new fencing in front of the dugouts. Very fun to watch those two. Very similar, the paths they're taking with all their improvements.
Yep.
Uh, that's fun stuff. Now, John, I got to ask, being in the South Division, now, what are some of the teams that you guys have to face for the Shamrocks, being in that very competitive South Division for the Federal League? I know they're all competitive, but the South is just not an easy task, right?
Well, yeah, it's not an easy task. I mean, obviously we talked about the Lakeville Lobos. Always they bring it every game. Definitely a competitive team, and have been in that AAA bracket for I don't know how many years. I don't think they'll ever leave, obviously, in this case, but they're definitely a very tough team. Hastings is a tough team. I mean, this was the first year that we played them, just because we had been gone for a couple years. But a few faces that are on that team, they used to play for the Newmarket Northerns. So,
Okay.
you at least seeing them, for again, it was kind of nice to see some familiar faces. But they've got a really good hitting team, and up and down that lineup, there wasn't one player that was a weak link for them. So they definitely have a good team themselves. And you got Newmarket Northerns. They've been competitive for a number of years in that AAA as well. So I mean, I'm talking 3 teams right there that are in the AAA that are out of the South, right? There are a few more teams that are there. We got the Lonsdale Jokers. We played them pretty tough the 2 games that we played against them. In fact, I think the last game, I think both teams are scraping up to get players or whatever. I think we had like maybe 10 or 11 eventually. But I don't know. I think it was like, 23-24 to like 17 or 18. I mean, we were basically playing a football game. We weren't really
Yes.
playing baseball. So that was quite an interesting game. You have the Milltown Outlaws. They were in the Double A. Definitely a tough team to play. You have then there's us that are in the league. Vesely Vulcans. They're kind of like us. They're a scrappy team. Definitely can turn it on when they need to, and they certainly they got hot real early after beating us. I think there was at one point I think they were like 4-1 or 4-2. And then I think they just kind of started to struggle there towards the end of the year. And then trying to think of the
Elko Chuggers.
what's that? The Elko Chuggers, yes, the Elko Chuggers. So that's another one that they were in the Double A as well, and or no wait, no they were in Single A, but that's another team that you don't know what you're going to get, but they always field a competitive team. And usually fun to play because there are some for that Elko Chuggers. There are a decent amount of old DRS Elko Express players that play on that team. Back when I played on the St. Patrick Irish, that is good to see some old faces and at least talk to them and talk about old games and old rivalries at that point.
That state tournament team, right? That state class, that state tourney championship team, that Elko Express team, that converted over and play really good 35. And I think, a lot of those guys are converting over. We used to see it back in the day, John. The amateur guys were very, very hesitant on coming over to play over 35. They didn't want to do it. They didn't want to lower themselves to come down to play on this senior men's league. Now, when you see the guys come over and see how good they are and how fun they're having by doing it, it's really making this group competitive. And that's where you see a bunch of those guys from a lot of state championship teams, a lot of DRS teams, guys, players converting over and getting into the federal league and playing at a high level. It just brings the whole league up. It's fun to watch. And these games are all free. I mean, for the listeners out there who want to go, the admission's free for the federal league. 7-inning games, 2.5 hour games at the most. 2 hours, you're basically out of there. Very competitive, fun to watch ball games. Well done.
Well, and I think too the hesitancy at times, just like we have with trying to get that pipeline from the St. Patrick Irish is, some of these guys they've played amateur ball for 18, 20 years. They really haven't known anything else, and maybe the love is lost a little bit. They just want to go do something else. Some guys that end up coming out for over 35, they obviously, one, don't know that there's over 35, but two, they might have quit playing baseball at an earlier age, and they're like, I don't even know if I can do it, but heck, let's give it a try, right? And once they end up getting out there, they're like, you have this feeling like I should have never left. And it's fun. It when you take a look at the league as a whole, or like overall, I think it's a strong league from the top to the bottom. A lot of it is that commitment, but also it's just that competitive spirit. And I think that, no matter what game you go to, no matter what their record is, I mean, any team can win. That's why, as Herm Edwards say, that's why you play the game, right?
Exactly. Now, my last question is, what this last weekend just wrapped up the annual Hickory tournament, the Ron Catone Hickory baseball tournament. And that over recent years has really brought in a lot of amateur guys. Once the season's over for amateur, which is always Labor Day weekend, right? Mm-hmm. They have a 2-weekend tournament. It's really a 35-plus tournament, very competitive up in St. Michael. It's called the Hickory tournament. And that just wrapped up. And that's where really you get some teams that are just guys coming off of the state tournament amateur team playing on these over 35 teams. And it's very competitive. That just wrapped up. Does the Shamrocks have anyone playing there? Is there any thought down the road of having a Shamrocks team in that Hickory tournament at all? Any thoughts there?
I mean, I think it would be fun. I've heard nothing but good reviews on those on that Hickory tournament. If you take a look at maybe the roster of teams, I think for the most part, those are some of the same teams that end up playing. In past years, I know that when Bill Dunker, who's now on the Milltown Outlaws, he would go play with like I think it was the Chaska Voyagers, or I think at one point it was the Diablos that were playing in that tournament.
Yes. Okay.
And he would, play with them, just because he said it's more baseball. It's a fun tournament. You get to talk with other ball guys or whatever, and really it's you just don't want to give it up yet, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things where it's just like, gosh, I just gotta keep playing at least a little bit, considering that the season's over and you don't really want to get into the winter without doing something. So
Exactly. It is fun watching some highlights and the snapshots and candids of that particular tournament, because regardless of the team you're on in the summer, you're wearing that jersey for that tournament. So
yep.
teams are made up of 3 or 4 different teams. The jerseys aren't consistent. It looks like you're watching a Major League Baseball All-Star game, but it's a fun, it's a networking thing. A lot of the same guys that you're going to be familiar with end up at that tournament, which has really taken off. It's really become a big thing now. They get trophies and whatnot handed
Yep.
out. MVPs are awarded, so it's a big deal. So, well, welcome back to the Fed. It's fun to see the Shamrocks back in the Federal League action, and after a couple of year layoff there, good work getting it back. You and co-manager Eric Solheide running the show there. Hats off. It's been a struggle, but it really is worth it to see it pay off when you're in the state tournament, Class B. You're playing 25 game schedule. It's got to be rewarding.
Yeah, it was very rewarding, and as many times I keep thinking about maybe I should hang it up. I just might not have enough there. Something always gets thrown at me or whatnot. So being able to manage or whatever, it kind of obviously brings a different element to the game out. But at the same time, I enjoyed this year. I think we got a great bunch of guys that, again, I believe that we can build off of and definitely come out swinging, basically, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Going into the next year. So yeah, I'm very excited about it, and again, want to thank the Federal League for letting us back in. I want to thank Fed Up for having me on, as well as thanking you for having me on, because like anything else, if you can get your story out there, if you can get the word out there, it can only help. It can't hurt.
Awesome. Well said. Well, we're hoping when sometime in April or May, probably, I'm guessing it's going to be April next year. We are planning to do a 2026 preview show for the Federal League. So stay tuned there, John. Hopefully we'll have you back on the show for a possible preview show coming up, but it's always a fun league. Look forward to seeing you guys and the team in 2026.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
coming on.
Thank you.